boys and girls, it's Mrs. Sadowski, and I'm here to start Love That Dog and our poetry unit with you. And I am so excited about this unit. It's a really fun way to end the year. April is technically National Poetry Month, and we could have had a lot of fun with our poetry in April, but we were figuring out some other things. So we saved it for the end of the year because we thought it would be a fun way to just wrap things up. So we're going to be using the book Love That Dog. And it's a novel, but it's written as a poem. And you're going to see as we go through it that it's really written from the perspective of a student. So if you could picture a boy in our class, or a boy in Mrs. Jansen's class, or a boy in Mr. Ford's class, okay? Your typical fourth grade boy sitting in class, doesn't want to write, doesn't like writing, and definitely doesn't like poetry. Okay, that will set the scene for you for this book because it's all about that kid. And in this book, his name is Jack. He doesn't like poetry, doesn't like writing, does not want to have to do anything with it. But you're going to notice a transformation with this boy as we go through this novel. Now, the other thing about this novel is that in the back, so you're going to notice I keep 2 tabs in mine. So for those of you who have the copy of the book with you, you might want to do the same thing that I do, where you mark the page where we're going to start with the actual novel itself. But then in the back, there's a little poetry section. And it'll say that these are, some of the poems. So I'm actually going to launch our lesson today for poetry with this poem because you need to see this in order to understand what's happening in the novel. So here we go. The Red Wheelbarrow by William Carlos Williams. So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens. Very simple poem. Clearly, much depends upon. If you could picture a red wheelbarrow and it's got some rainwater on it and it's next to the white chickens. Sounds to me like it's a farm setting, and that wheelbarrow is very important. Okay. So this little boy's teacher, her name is Miss Stretchberry, by the way, and they're in room 105. And you're going to notice there's dates. So on September 13th, this Miss Stretchberry had to have read that poem to the class. And if you think of this as kind of Jack's writer's notebook, where he writes back and forth between him and the teacher, we only get to see his writing. We never get to see her response. So here we go. September 13th. I don't want to, because boys don't write poetry. Girls do. Okay, that's not cool. Girls aren't the only ones who like poetry, and some girls don't even like poetry. Clearly, he does not. September 21st. I tried. Can't do it. Brain's empty. Interesting. September 27th. I don't understand the poem about the red wheelbarrow and the white chickens, and why so much depends upon them. If that is a poem about the red wheelbarrow and the white chickens, then any words can be a poem. You've just got to make short lines. Okay. October 4th. Do you promise not to read it out loud? Do you promise not to put it on the board? Okay, here it is, but I don't like it. So much depends upon a blue car, splattered with mud, speeding down the road. That sounds like a poem to me, and it sounds like he wrote it, but he doesn't want people to know he wrote it. October 10th. What do you mean, why does so much depend upon a blue car? You didn't say I had to tell why. The wheelbarrow guy didn't tell why. So notice, Jack has written this. It's very similar to the Red Wheelbarrow poem. The Red Wheelbarrow author didn't say why, so why in the world would Jack's teacher want to say why, right? How many of you feel like you can either relate to Jack and you don't like writing, you want to put down the shortest thing possible, you don't want anyone else to see your writing, and you definitely don't want your teacher to write it out loud or read it out loud, and then when you finish and you think you've done what she asked, she wants more out of you. Can anybody relate to that? Well, Maybe if you can't relate because you're that child that likes to write a lot, maybe you know someone in your class that you can, kind of comes to mind with this. So that's as far as I'm going to read today. And some of you might be going, wait, what? That was so short. Why wouldn't we go farther? Well, that's because we want to build a little suspense with this. We want to keep you hanging. We want you wondering what is going to happen next. So, Love That Dog, we've now introduced. You've heard the Red Wheelbarrow poem. You've met Jack, seen his reaction to things. Again, we don't know what his teacher's saying, but we can kind of guess a little bit about the dynamics in the classroom. So now that I've shown you that, I'm going to switch over to your assignment for today. Because like I said, our poetry unit is going to be our writing. Okay, this is our writing piece that we're going to do for the rest of the year. And you're going to have a lot of short little writing assignments. We're also going to be talking figurative language. Well, for today, you're going to be doing something called the 5 W's poetry. And it looks like this. So you can see it on my screen. And it says 5W poems consist of 5 simple lines. Simple, easy. The pattern consists of who, what, when, where, and why. So here's an example. It's called My Backpack by Jacqueline Ortiz. So she came up with her who, right? That's her noun. So it's my backpack. Makes sense. She titled it her backpack. What? Carries all my books. When? From 8 to 3. Where? To school. Why? Because I cannot carry it all by myself. So when you hear just the poem, it's My Backpack by Jacqueline Ortiz. My backpack carries all my books from 8 to 3 to school because I cannot carry it all by myself. Simple, right? So your task will be on the next slide. There's a spot for you to add a title. So please consider, what you want this to be about. You could do the same thing the sample does, where if the subject is my backpack, then the backpack can be your title. If you wanted to write about your pet cat, you could call it My Cat. If you wanted to call it The Tree, you want to call it The Beach. But you need to pick something. If you want to pick a person, that's fine too, because that's a noun, right? So you need a person, a place, or a thing. You need that noun, person, place, or thing to start your poem. And that's the first line. It could be as simple as one word. Maybe it's your pet. I have a student in mind that I'm thinking of right now, and I bet she's probably going to write about her cat. I could be wrong, but her poem might be titled Nala, because I know that's the name of her cat. And the first line might be the name of her cat. If I were to do this, I could pick something. I could pick my pet lizard. I could do Nani, and I could call it class pet because she's our class pet in my classroom. And I could say Nani as my noun, my who. My what? Chases down crickets. Time. Early in the morning. Where? In her terrarium. Why? Because she cannot wait to eat them. And voila, I would have a poem about my class pet, the lizard. I could do a restaurant. I could pick Topper's Pizza. What? What does pizza do? Maybe I will say Topper's Pizza. See, this is what happens when you're writing. You might have to pause for a minute and go, pizza. Ooh, it melts in my mouth. Maybe. When? Every time I take a bite. Where? Sitting on my couch. Why? Because it had to be delivered because of COVID-19. Aha! Okay? So, you can have fun with this. You can make it funny. You can make it serious. You decide. You are the author. But your job is to follow this kind of idea, but on here. And yes, there's way more space than you're going to fill up. Because again, you just have 5 lines to do. So can't wait to read them. Talk to you later, boys and girls.